Welcome back, everybody, to our, I think we're doing like 3 segments or like 2.5 segments or something this week of all of the crap that we haven't talked about. The big one this week is the fact that Harvey Weinstein everyone's finally realized that he is a giant, giant scumbag.
Yeah.
And it looks like Bill has a friend joining him.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Marianne. How you doing?
Marianne.
Hello.
Hi, Marianne.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Lovely to see you again.
Nice to see you guys. Cheers, Kaitlyn. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. So,
Oh, no.
I know, I sound horrible. The thing I think that is really starting to get to people about the Harvey Weinstein thing, I don't really think we need to get into the specific details here because we've been covering it on Bleeding Cool. Every news site in the world has been covering it. The big thing I think that's starting to get to people is not just how bad it really is, but how complicit a lot of people behind the scenes were to this behavior. Finding out that Bob Weinstein might have known about the shit that his brother was doing and just kind of let it happen.
Yeah.
Well, an actress on Twitter, I don't remember her name, she said, back when she was a minor, Bob tried to coerce her into going into Harvey's hotel room.
And
So-
there's so much stuff coming out, and it's all just, it's been a really depressing week. It's been a really just kind of like making you hate humanity a little more kind of week. And like I said, there's just this idea that there were so many people behind the scenes that knew about this that were just willing to sit back and not say anything. It's, ugh.
Well, the impression I got is that what really blew this up is that at first everyone was like, okay, he was predatory and he groped women and all that. That's bad. But what really blew up is when Rose McGowan and Lizette Anthony and Asia Argento and several other actresses came back and said, no, he didn't just harass us, he raped us. That was what caused the floodgates to open. That was like crossing a line. It's almost like, oh, groping is, it's bad, but holy shit, rape. That is no way we can condone any of that. So that's why this has blown up the way it is.
And that just speaks volumes right there. The fact that we had to throw out rape at all to make people start paying attention. It's like, casual misogyny is fine, but once we cross this perceived line, suddenly we're in the no-go territory. It's like, no, this is all disgusting. Yes, there are varying levels of disgusting, but it should have been disgusting from the onset. It should have been a big deal from the onset.
There was a part at which the, a number of people or staffers are bringing up, well, we reported this to HR, and the report was taken, but then nothing was done, or they were kind of patted on the head and sent on their way. And suddenly the companies are flipping over backwards going, oh, we never heard anything about this, or there wasn't enough information to act on. But none of it really has come to the notion of, golly, they really tried hard to protect these people or make them feel comfortable or safe, or that they're even being listened to very hard. But then cut to mid this week when the Amazon exec, which one was it? Isa. When that happened, and then like 2 hours later, the person was being shown to the door. I mean, it hit immediately.
But I think what's even more concerning, the behind the scenes is bad enough, but we are seeing now, honestly, how much this has been referenced out in the open and nothing was done. Mm-hmm. Courtney Love referenced it in 2005 on a Comedy Central red carpet. They were playing the video today where she said, when asked, what would you tell a young woman who's coming to Hollywood? And her answer first was, I know I'm going to get libeled for this, but I would tell her, if Harvey Weinstein invites you to a party at the Four Seasons, don't go. 2005. Seth MacFarlane makes a joke at the Oscar nominations in 2013. 30 Rock made 4 jokes about it on their show, and no one gave a rat's ass about it.
If you asked any women who have spent more than 5 minutes in the entertainment industry, none of them were surprised. I think it was Seth Meyers did a great segment where he got 3 of his female writers up, and they were all talking about how they're not surprised that this happened. They're surprised that it's taken this long for people to finally start paying attention. And it is. This is something that's not just systemic in Hollywood. It's systemic in all over the place. I mean, we're also not only seeing stories coming out from actresses, but somebody like Terry Crews has come up and said that someone groped him. I believe it was James Vanderbeek also said that he's been harassed. I mean, it's like, this isn't just this is a systemic problem where we have powerful men in places where they feel like they can take advantage of the people around them. And it's terrifying to think about. It really, really is. I mean, there are so many young kids out there in Hollywood, especially, that, oh man, the shit they must have seen and gone through. It's amazing any of those teenagers grow up to be, stable human beings, let alone have, decent heads on their shoulders.
So I'll lead the witnesses here. So why do you think this time is different? Why is the sudden so loud and so pervasive, and the calls
social media? Social media. I mean, if you think about it, yeah, I mean, all this stuff has always been there, but social media and Twitter and Facebook and all of this stuff is so pervasive and so intricate to our lives now. This is really the first time we've seen this kind of backlash happen in an age where everyone is on Twitter all the time. Everyone is on Facebook all the time. People are getting their news from Facebook all the time. We had the Twitter blackout the other day, which, whether you agree or disagree with it, because I know me and Marianne have disagreeing opinions on it, it made a difference. I mean, even in just our site numbers were down during the blackout. I mean, like, people spend so much time. I mean, people meet their spouses and ruin their lives in the same day on social media. That's just the way it is now. And I really feel like it being so intricate to our lives is one of the reasons why this has hit hard so quickly.
It also feels like a cultural moment in the sense that the dam is finally bursting after brewing away for like years, if not decades, because I've heard rumors about Harvey Weinstein and Miramax ever since I was a film student, and even like a few years ago, I would still hear rumors, and somebody who's in the know would say to me, "Well, all the media outlets, especially here in New York, they know about this stuff. It's just a matter of when they get to pull the trigger and when they think the moment is right, and suddenly the moment seems to be right." And it also feels like it's kind of orchestrated, because there's talk that it was Harvey's HR file and employment file that was leaked to the New York Times. So suddenly they had something official. They knew who the women were. They could get in touch with the women, and then the women actually came forward. There's actually a rumor that somebody might have also contacted the women and say, "Hey, if you come out and go on record, I got your back." So it feels like they maybe it was orchestrated to get Harvey fired from the Weinstein company, because he's been costing the company a lot of money in the last few years, and they've been looking to get rid of him. And
my only question about that
conspiracy theory.
Well, the thing is, even if we go along with that thought, I mean, the Weinsteins, I mean, that board, in the end, they're not stupid to a particular extent. They would have to know that the TWC has not been, hasn't been in the healthiest of conditions anyway. The probability of the company surviving this kind of scandal is very thin.
Contract.
Contract.
Sorry.
I mean, like, if they legitimately had a clause that says that
in the 2015 contract,
yes,
they could have been there for 10 years. They could have been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's the complaint. Sorry.
Well, thing is, that by itself,
please.
I'm still not even sure how that works, because California is an at-will state. You can't have superseding contracts to that effect. It's still an at-will state. You can be fired with or without cause. Period. Conversation over. So I'm not really sure how that thing works, although it may just associate with his exit, what kind of money he gets on the payout on the way out. But back to if it is a conspiracy that somebody in the company wanted him out, maybe somebody in Hollywood wanted him out, and then if Weinstein Company burned, and then that's fine along the way. But I don't know if anybody in-house would really be like that, because they would have to know that this would end up really, the company is dead. There's almost And I feel so bad. I'll say again, I feel so bad for all the people that have been working on these projects, the TV shows, the movies, and everything, and now everything is in limbo. That sucks for them because it's not their fault. They've just been, going to work, setting up the crafts table and dealing with building sets and that kind of thing. And now they're out of jobs. All of their revenue is frozen. Things are going to go badly.
Two things in regards to that. First, as long as Bob's last name is Weinstein, Bob's going to make sure that his golden parachute is preserved, even if the Weinstein company crashes and burns. People somehow are trying to talk Bob as if, well, Bob was the one who started. Bob realized that his brother's crimes were basically affecting potentially his bottom line and decided to basically rat his brother out. That's my gut feeling and what a lot of the buzz is, though they're keeping it very tame. The other thing, too, is the reason why, and I hate, again, don't want to sound cynical when I say this, the reason why you didn't hear a lot of men in Hollywood speak up initially, because, again, it's social media. It's sad to say this, but they basically had to probably sit back and think, what dumb shit did I do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure most of Hollywood right now is thinking.
Yeah. Warner Brothers has a huge PR problem on their hand right now with the Afflecks, and that video with Momoa came out the other day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
Although having been at that panel, it was one of the first panels that we actually covered at San Diego. If you watch the wider... What are you doing?
Go ahead, keep talking.
The wider section of that panel in context, it's... Yes, he said what he said, but it was kind of talking about the series in general and what he was getting into. But it still doesn't read particularly whippy at the moment.
No. I mean, it was a sardonic joke, and I looked at it. It's like, okay, he was saying it to be glib in the moment, but there's no such thing as a good rape joke.
Nope.
Interesting how the video resurfaced just at the start of, what is it, Aquaman theme of Justice League Week?
Yeah.
But I will also bring up the fact of what he did, also in that panel, that kind of makes up for it. Do you remember what he did?
Yeah, he pulled the chair out.
So they were introducing Emilia Clarke for the first time to the audience, and when she came out, he stood up and bowed to her, and he kissed her hand, and he did all these really sweet things, and then he pulled her chair out for her and waited for her to sit down, and then scooted her chair in and sat there like this the whole time, just kind of looking at her lovingly.
Yeah, he was doting the entire time.
It was adorable. And so I have a really hard time judging him by that one audio clip because I was in that room and I saw the rest of it. And everything he has done as a human being, as a professional, has been to protect women for this type of stuff. And so I have a really hard time jumping on him as a bad guy for this bite. Was it a good idea? No, but...
I'm much more dubious about the whole Affleck thing, and I've noticed how shockingly quiet he has been. Somebody is sitting on top of him and taking his phone away and say, you say nothing. You say absolutely nothing in the dire hope that this simply blows over. And
I don't know if things really blow over these days. I mean, everyone says the internet remembers forever, and once it's out there, it's out there. I mean, we're talking about it. We're talking about a clip about a major panel that happened in 2011 resurfacing. I mean, this stuff doesn't go away.
Yeah, and shall we talk about the ripple effect into Amazon Studios?
Yeah,
because
hit it.
Because Ray Price, the head of the studio, not only did Rose McGowan didn't name him, but she said when she heard Amazon Studios was doing business and buying these two insanely expensive shows from the Weinstein company, to the head of the studio and said, "Hey, Harvey, rape me. Can you not do this because you just bought a project of mine that I'm writing and directing?" And the guy basically dismissed her. She didn't name him, but head of studio, Ray Price, who's a buddy of Harvey Weinstein's, and again, he did the deals for these two shows, which were going to cost Amazon a massive amount of money.
$160 million, I believe, was the number I read.
For the one.
That was just for the one.
Yeah, with the possibility of a bigger budget ballooning during production. That was just like pre-production cost.
Almost felt like they were trying to move money around more than pay for something.
Yeah, the Russo series was a 2-season commitment for I think 160 million, and then the Wiener one, the Romanovs, was a 1-year for 60.
Yeah,
Heavy
and they can't
price for friendship.
And they can't dump the Wiener one because they're already in production. They've already gotten pregnant with it, so they can't just drop this thing.
Not
Whereas
after 22 weeks.
I've been hearing that Amazon already apparently had an HR investigation file on Ray Price already, and they were also trying to think how the hell can we get out of David O. Russell $160 million thing. And suddenly, he's a Dick Hackett comes out with her thing, and what I'm told is that gave Amazon the perfect out to one, fire Ray Price once and for all, and second of all, basically cut off that David O. Russell thing, and so that they don't have to spend $160 million.
And this is the time I will definitely say that the possibility for a conspiracy theory is totally there, because they knew about her complaint since 2015. 16. And so it's not that they didn't know, they just chose to act on it now as opposed to then.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always about timing. That's what people in Hollywood always tell me. So when something comes up, I always start going, okay, what was going on behind the scenes, and who's going to profit, or who's going to be able to bail themselves out of something extremely expensive, or just to get rid of somebody they really have hated for a long time.
Right.
Can I ask the $10 million question of everybody? 5 years from now, where are we at with regards to Hollywood? From this,
in what in terms of politics?
San Francisco.
In regards to both boardroom and behind the camera,
I
are we
think
going to see a change? Is this a blip?
I don't know. Firing Weinstein from the Motion Picture Academy, I said this in my article about it, was and the Times really put it the best way. It was largely symbolic. It really doesn't mean that much when you've still got people like Woody Allen and Roman Polanski. Stephen Collins from Seventh Heaven is apparently a voting member. I didn't know that. So as long as they've set this precedent now, and it's going to be really interesting to see where they go forward now that they've actually let somebody else go. I was trying to research this before I wrote the art while it was looking like Harvey was going to get let go, and the Times managed to beat me to it. There's only been one other person who has had their membership revoked, and that was a character actor who shared screener DVDs that ended up online.
Yeah.
So that's the only other time they have revoked membership. People have been suspended in the past for, I think, like selling their tickets to the Oscars or something like that, but not for anything like this. So now that Weinstein is gone, there's going to be a lot of people going, well, the allegations against Weinstein are still allegations. There haven't been any criminal charges yet. Why is Stephen Collins still on there? Why is Woody Allen still there? Why is Polanski still there? Why are these people still on here? So I don't know what Hollywood looks like in 5 years, because I don't know what the Motion Picture Academy's next step is going to be. Once we see how they react to the inevitable pressure of other people going, if Weinstein is gone, why are these other scumbags still allowed? Like, where is the line? Where is this line that you guys are allowed to draw? So I honestly can't answer that, Ray, because I haven't seen how the Academy is going to react. And let's face it, what the Academy does is going to shape a lot of Hollywood going forward.
I think one thing we'll see is, I think we will see more diversity by that point, and most notably more women. Now, whether it's more minorities, I don't really think so, but one can always hope. But a lot of it will largely depend on, is what's going on right now, will it have even a modicum of long-term reaction of, if someone is being really harassed, pressured, assaulted, raped, whatever, will they report it, and will it be listened to and support? Basically, is that complaint mechanism going to be fixed and improved so that the people that would be committing these acts end up, one, they get flushed out of the system, or they're suitably cowed so they just don't do it. Whichever comes first. Ideally out of the system, but again, it's a big, deep old boys club. But if they can at least stop victimizing people, that would be a lovely start.
I think I saw a statistic online today, and I can't remember where it was, but I think it said like something like 75% of women who have reported harassment were punished for it in some way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just the amount of victim blaming coming out of this, I hope, is a conversation that we're all going to have. I think it's Mayla Beckman, I believe is her. How do you say her name? She wrote an op-ed basically that came across as very, very victim blamey, talking about being modest and not looking like that.
Oh, right, her.
That was,
yeah,
that one.
Big Theory actress.
That's a conversation that I hope Hollywood will have, is not victim blaming, not blaming all of these women saying, why did you sign those NDAs? Why did you take that money? Yada, yada, yada. This is all, it's like, no, why is it more their fault than Weinstein's fault?
Yeah,
there's just some...
There was a good comparison the other day that made the observation that, golly gee willikers, so the men in Hollywood that are coming out and doing the declaratives of standing with the women now are being, applauded and yay, great going guys, but the women who are standing up and talking are being asked, well, why didn't you do it earlier? And getting kind of berated for it. Now, I do think it's a legitimate question to ask, why didn't you earlier? Because that way the word can come out better that they didn't feel supported, they didn't think they had a support channel. That's an okay question. But telling them you should have done it earlier, it's kind of your fault that it kept on happening. Again, that goes back to the blaming thing. But finding out the systemic, why did you not do it, I think that's an okay question. But not the punishing them for it.
Yeah, but what's worse is when other women blame women for this as well.
Yeah. Women can be sexist too.
Yeah.
And they're...
I was just gonna say, you hit something on the head too. It's as a guy, I just want to say for the record, you can really stop friggin' thanking or praising us, because honestly, it's common sense. Just to speak up isn't deserving of a pat on the head. It's just common sense how you're supposed to roll. That's the one thing. It's like the thanks are appreciated, but to say you don't treat a person that way shouldn't be the Wonka golden ticket. It should be just the basic standard. And that's, in that regards, it's like, I think there have been some guys who've been like, hey, no, just be a human being. That's all you need to do. You don't have to put any other airs. Just be a respectful, decent human being.
Well, at the end, is it that hard not to be a scumbag? I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Ask anyone on Twitter.
Yeah, really. I was like, let's ask Twitter. Let's look at the comment sections for me and Marianne's articles.
How about the one I did about man mansplains Indiana Jones costume?
Yep.
Really, don't look at it. It's so bad.
That was the one where they were... what was his name? That's
Max Landis's mother,
Yeah.
who is a very famous costume designer in her own right. Someone posted an image on Twitter that was a question from a Final Jeopardy. This Charlton Heston movie, with the date and the title of the film, influenced a very famous treasure hunting adventure hero. What film was it? And a guy on the internet, amazing, decided to complain and say that, well, Jeopardy got it wrong. That is not the correct film that influenced Indiana Jones's costume.
On the show, the Jeopardy answer was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and so the person was complaining, no, that's not right.
That is not the correct influential film to Indiana Jones's costume. To which a woman responds and says, no, that's right. Well, how do you know? Because I'm the one they got the information from, because I'm the one that designed the fucking costume. And it kind of went from there, where he again responded with, no, I don't think you're right about that, because Spielberg said... Well, actually, Spielberg said in numerous interviews, and she kind of shut him down and just went, sure, numerous interviews. I sat next to him in the theater when we made this decision, type of thing.
Which is worse, the well, actually, or the I'm not a racist, but? I don't know. They both kind of go.
Yeah, they're both pretty bad.
Is it afternoon? Because that's the baseline.
So, question for you guys: did NBC bury the piece?
Which piece?
The original version of the Weinstein piece, when it was presented by the author, the one who wrote the NY Post piece.
Yes.
Ronan Farrow, right?
You're right. So they originally were a contributor over at NBC. Their attestation is they took it to NBC and they buried it, or /rejected it / whatever, about 1 to 2 years ago. And only now is it coming out when it's transitioned places. NBC gave him the blessing to take it elsewhere, so he did so. NBC is insisting, no, this isn't what was presented to us. It was far more in a primordial state and didn't have all the details yet, so we didn't think there was enough there. But the writer is insisting, no, they had enough stuff, they just didn't want to.
Well, here's the... Sorry, go on. Sorry, Marianne.
No problem. Sorry. I would be willing to bet that whoever the producer was on that piece did not have 90% of what they have now. And so I would caution that perhaps that is the case. That the case that we have now is not what it was 2 years ago, because people hadn't been contacted yet. They didn't feel comfortable speaking out because the social media climate 2 years ago is completely different than what it is freaking now.
Yeah.
And so I would caution that might actually be the case. Because NBC is pretty good about that at this point, but this is me saying that as a spectator and not someone who has ever worked for them.
Addie, you were going to say something.
I pretty much agree with Marianne, but the other thing I was thinking is, if NBC was saying, well, we don't have enough, why didn't NBC say, investigate further, then go on the story? And it goes right back to what people have been telling me for years, which is that they've known this stuff, the media knows this stuff, and they're always just waiting for when the right time to pull the trigger is.
Right. And I want to follow up on Hattie, what you said, too. It's also a good point is, I mean, you're talking about a Ronan Farrow who had a contract with NBC, specifically MSNBC. And I believe a decent chunk of his time was done during his time where they were having him have a show on MSNBC. So why, if you're presented by somebody with that level, the only thing you can think of is it's the excuse and or reason, depending on whichever way you look at it, that a lot of the newspapers and online didn't go with it. It was the Hulk Hogan effect of, if we go wrong, Weinstein is going to crush us and we're gone.
Gawker. Not wanting to go the way of Gawker. I didn't even think of that. It's very true.
And I think that was a big fear. We don't live in the days of Watergate where, the Washington Post was going to go with things with hope, prayer, and the promise of the reporters. Now somebody was going to back somebody to hit them with a huge lawsuit if there was one I that wasn't dotted.
Well, you heard how Weinstein was getting, was threatening suits all over the place before Post ran their piece. And, I totally expect Pulitzers or whatnot for Post having run it, because that took no lack of balls to push that thing out the door.
Yep. You're talking about, there's a reason why they call him the most powerful man in Hollywood. He really is. You're talking about taking, we're also balls is an understatement. That's a nice way of putting it.
Balls.
Well, even before Gawker was taken down, Harvey Weinstein always had a reputation for more than 20 years of being notoriously litigious. He's always threatened to sue people, and he had lawyers. They can take him down now because he's vulnerable. He was deemed as vulnerable now. He's weaker than he was because, his picks for movies for the Weinstein Company have not been making money at the box office. They haven't won any Oscars, so his power has been slowly waning. The Weinstein Company has been hemorrhaging money for the last few years. They've been running around scrambling, trying to get loans and lines of credit from banks. In 2015, they were trying to sell off their TV division, and basically that NYPD investigation into Harvey Weinstein killed the deal to sell the TV division to ITV. And the word I heard is that was when they decided, okay, maybe we need to start thinking about getting rid of Harvey.
My thing with Weinstein's always been, especially during the Miramax days, it's if your reputation is that Weinstein will get his film an Oscar no matter what, that I think speaks volumes of how shady you are. Because again, Academy screening and voting and jockeying everything, I rank that up there with the International Olympic Committee and FIFA with the World Cup on layers of shadiness. So if you're able to manipulate that system, that doesn't speak volumes about you in that regard. It just it doesn't, because you're not manipulating that system in the good way. You're just not.
Yeah. It's funny. I keep thinking back to what you were saying, Kaitlyn, about only one other person has had their membership revoked.
That fascinated me.
And it's kind of like,
I could not believe that.
That's like comparing Hannibal Lecter to a jaywalker. I mean, and that's the only two people that's so mind-boggling. It really is funny.
Why did you pick Hannibal?
I know, it just seemed like the thing.
Okay.
We got TV coming up next.
But yeah,
Okay.
like I Googled it after I read that on the New York Times article, because that was the first thing I did. I was like, I wonder if anyone's ever had their membership revoked before.
Mm-hmm.
And I Googled it, and I couldn't even find this. It's a character actor whose name I can't even remember off the top of my head. They got it for screener sharing.
Jesus.
Screener sharing. That was the thing.
Oh,
And I was
Pirate
like,
Bay.
like I said, of all of the things, that really sets a precedent for going forward, and how they react to that is just, wow. It's going to be interesting.
I still love your BB-8 cup. That's still a cool cup.
Yeah.
We need to
BB-8.
get you a Porg cup.
God, no.
I know, I do.
Fuck porgs! God damn it!
Maybe that's
Jesus.
why they're on the ship. You don't know. You don't know.
By
Sorry.
January, we're going to be talking about pork plushies, aren't we?
I
big
hate... God damn it. You know what? It's really funny in that, I don't know why, but watching that trailer, something clicked in my head, and almost my fondness for Star Wars almost absolutely, and I don't know why, ended at that moment. I'm like, I don't care anymore.
He'll
I
tell
don't care.
you guys almost, but for us, it was no, I'm done.
I
I'm
am
out.
done.
I'm done.
I still love Rogue One, but other than that, I'd
Oh,
be willing to just
Jesus.
tap out, just because
Anyhow.
porgs. What the fuck? No. Anyway, sorry. Segue. Weinstein, how's it going?
Hey, Phil.
Please, I need to laugh, for the love of God. I felt like I wanted to jump off the roof of my building this
What was
weekend,
that
this
damn thing
week.
you were telling me the other
Between
day?
being
Your mic?
sick and having to deal with the Weinstein shit, it was just like, it's been non-stop gloom the entire week, so thank
go grab my
God do I
mics.
need to freaking laugh.
Be funnier.
Bill, you didn't get the press release from Disney? They're having that Porg found footage movie coming out December 2020? Yeah, the teaser drops, I think, January. So,
Yes.
psych.
I have taken it as a personal mission to find all of the Photoshop Porg famous movie stills and post them on his wall, because that's the type of person I am.
I hate porgs so much.